The icy morning breeze slipped into the penthouse hallway the moment Ethan cracked open the door. He was adjusting the cuff of his expensive suit, mind already buried in meetings and numbers until something unusual tugged at the edge of his vision. A small wicker basket sat directly in front of his door. He paused. His breath stilled. This floor was restricted, guarded, and unreachable for anyone without authorization. No one should be able to leave anything here. Slowly he crouched down. Inside the basket, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, was a newborn baby. Her tiny fists were curled near her face, her nose red from the cold, her breath small and shaky. For a moment, Ethan forgot how to breathe. Then he noticed the folded paper tucked beside the baby. A note. With stiff fingers, he picked it up. His heartbeat hammered louder with every second, as if his chest already knew something his mind didn't want to accept. He unfolded the note. "You promised to protect us. Don't break it." The words sliced through him like ice. "No," he whispered, voice cracking in a way he hadn't heard in years. Only one person could write something like that. Only one person he had once sworn to protect and failed. His vision blurred for a moment as memories he had locked away crashed against him. Her voice, her smile, her fear, her disappearance. A sharp cry shattered the silence. The baby's tiny face scrunched, her arms trembling. Ethan jolted back to reality and carefully lifted her. She was warm, fragile, impossibly small. She clung to his shirt with fingers that barely fit around a thread of fabric. Hey, it's okay," he murmured, voice softer than he knew he could manage. But nothing was okay. Someone had left a baby, this baby, at his door. Someone who knew his past. Someone who believed he was the only safe place left. Ethan swallowed hard, tightening his hold on her. His life had just shifted violently, and nothing would ever return to the way it was. The promise he once broke had returned in the form of a crying baby. Tucked safely in his arms, he stormed into the security room, his voice sharp and controlled in a way that made every guard stiffen. "Pull the corridor footage," he ordered. "All of it." The screens flickered to life one by one. The cameras showed empty hallways, quiet elevators, and the dim-lit entrance of the private floor. Then, finally, movement. A young woman appeared. She stepped out of the elevator with quick, nervous steps. A hood covered most of her face, but her hands shook as she clutched the baby to her chest. She kept looking over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to burst out at any second. Ethan leaned forward, heart pounding in a way he couldn't control. The woman approached his door, hesitated, then gently lowered the basket to the floor. She brushed the baby's cheek with a trembling thumb, tender, protective. Then the camera angle shifted just enough to catch her face. Ethan inhaled sharply. She wasn't Lena. She wasn't anyone he recognized. But her eyes, they held the same fear Lena once had, the same silent plea. Ethan's grip tightened around the baby. On the screen, the young woman whispered something to the child, barely visible, lips moving shakily, a kiss on the forehead. One last look, then she turned away. But just as she started down the hall, the footage caught a second figure. A man, tall, dark clothes, following her steps from a distance like a shadow chasing its prey. His face remained hidden, but something about his movements, slow, confident, predatory, made Ethan's blood turn cold. "Who is that?" Ethan's tone dropped, dangerous. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. The woman glanced back once, saw the man, and instantly broke into a run. The camera caught the fear twisting her body as she sprinted toward the elevator. The man moved faster, gaining on her until the doors closed just in time. Then the screen froze. Ethan stared at the paused image of the shadowy man. A chill crawled down his spine. This wasn't a mother abandoning her baby. This was someone desperately trying to save her. And whoever that man was, he wasn't giving up. Against his chest, her tiny breaths warming the fabric of his shirt. He didn't know how to hold a baby, but somehow she seemed calmer with him, like she recognized the hands meant to protect her. His mind, however, was anything but calm. He grabbed his phone and scrolled through old numbers. Contacts he hadn't touched in years, names tied to a past he had deliberately buried. Lena's world, Lena's friends, anyone who might know what happened to her. Finally, one number made his thumb stop. A woman named Mara, Lena's closest friend. He hesitated. His pulse hammered. Then he tapped the screen. The call rang once, twice, a third time. Just when he thought she wouldn't answer, the line clicked. A shaky, frightened voice whispered, Hello? Mara, it's Ethan, he said, trying to steady his tone. I need to ask you something about Lena. Silence, not the ordinary kind. This one felt heavy, like guilt and grief pressing through the speaker. You shouldn't call here, she finally breathed. Is the baby safe? Ethan froze. She knew. She knew about the baby. Mara, he said, his voice dropping, tell me the truth. What happened to Lena, and why was a child left at my door? The sound that came from her wasn't quite crying, but close, years of fear cracking open. Lena died 8 months ago, she whispered. Ethan's vision blurred for a moment. He closed his eyes, tightening his hold on the baby as if she were the last fragile piece of a promise he once made. Mara continued, her voice trembling. She made preparations, just in case. She told me if things ever became dangerous again, the baby must be taken to you. Only you. She believed you were the only one who could protect her child. Danger. Again. The word sent a cold ripple down Ethan's spine. What danger? He demanded. There was a long pause, then a sentence that punched the breath out of him. The same man who ruined Lena's life. He's back. He wants the baby. She knew he would come. She knew she didn't have long. That's why she chose you, because she trusted you even after everything. Ethan stared at the baby's sleeping face. So innocent, so unaware of the danger circling her life. The pieces suddenly fell together. The terrified young woman in the footage, the shadowy man following her, the desperate note. This wasn't a message. It was a warning. A plea. A last line of defense. Ethan swallowed hard. Anger and guilt mixing into something sharp and unbreakable. The promise he made to Lena. The one he broke. It was standing in his arms right now, breathing softly against his chest. And this time he wouldn't run. Apartment was quiet, too quiet. Ethan had just managed to rock the baby to sleep when the silence fractured. A soft beep, then another. Then the sudden sharp wail of the security alarm slicing through the night. Ethan's blood turned cold. He rushed toward the entrance, heart pounding in his throat. The lights in the hallway flickered as the alarm flashed red against the walls. His front door, one that required fingerprint verification, facial recognition, and 2 passcodes, was open. A dark figure stood inside. Tall, broad shoulders, clothes blending into the shadows like he belonged to the dark. His presence filled the room with something poisonous, an aura of control and danger. Ethan instinctively positioned himself between the intruder and the baby's crib. The man stepped forward, slow and unhurried, as if he already owned everything in sight. I came for what's mine, the man growled, voice low and rough, dripping with entitlement. Ethan's jaw clenched. She's not yours. A cruel smirk crawled across the man's face. She belongs to the bloodline. And you? His gaze dragged over Ethan like he was nothing more than dust under his shoe. You were always in the way. Ethan's fists tightened. Memories flashed in a violent rush. Lena's tearful eyes, her bruised wrist, her trembling voice the night she begged him to let her go so she could stay safe. He'd thought leaving her alone would protect her. He realized now how wrong he had been. The man took another step forward, and the baby whimpered softly in her sleep. Ethan's entire body reacted, protective, fierce, unyielding. You want her? Ethan said, voice steady in a way that surprised even him. You'll go through me. The tension in the room coiled tight, seconds stretching like wire ready to snap. The intruder's eyes darkened, not with fear but challenge. He shifted his weight, ready to lunge. But the shriek of sirens outside shattered the standoff. Blue and red lights flooded through the windows. Security teams stormed in, weapons raised, shouting commands. The intruder spun, but he was too slow. 4 guards pinned him to the floor, restrained him with force that rattled the hardwood. Ethan didn't move from his spot, not until the handcuffs clicked and the man was dragged out of the apartment, still snarling. Only then did Ethan turn back to the crib. The baby lay there, eyes half open, staring up at him with a fragile innocence that struck him deeper than any threat ever had. He knelt, lifted her gently, and held her close. His voice was barely a whisper against her tiny ear. I broke my promise once. His chest tightened painfully. Never again. I'll protect you, no matter what. The baby's small fingers curled into his shirt, and for the first time in years, Ethan Knight felt something he never expected. A reason to fight, a reason to stay, a reason to keep a promise he should have never broken.